Hi everyone and welcome back to Maths and Physics, Mr. Simons. Today's lesson on trig functions. So we're looking at the effects of A and Q on a graph, right? So going to look at amplitude, shifting the graph up and down, etc. This is a very important concept because in theory it's about 8 to 10 marks of your exam question. Alright, so normally if we give you an equation, it has a general format. Y equal A sine bx plus q, right? So from there, we need to know that this A gives us our amplitude, meaning the highest point my graph goes to, right? Then we have Q that can shift the graph up or it can shift the graph down. And then we have P, which changes our period and our interval spacing that we use to plot the graph. So if we look at the example, I give you y equal 2 sine 2x, right? This first 2 here in front of sine, that there is amplitude equal to 2. So there my amplitude is given. So in exam, if I ask, what's the amplitude? You're going to go look at the value in front of sine. Then I can ask you what's the minimum value, maximum value. So my amplitude is 2. My maximum value would be 2. And the smallest value it will go to on the graph would be negative 2. Alright? And that's simply because I don't have anything that's plus q there. Alright, so from here I can also get the range. So the range has to go from negative 2 to 2 if that's my minimum value and that's my maximum value. So my range y less or equal to 2 and greater or equal to negative 2. Alright, I hope you follow. So period, because I wrote 2x, x normally a period of a sine graph. To draw one complete sine graph would take 360 degrees. So if I write 2x, now it's going to become 360 divided by 2, meaning now I only need 180 degrees to plot a whole graph. Right, let's look at the second example. Right, y equal 2 sine 2x plus 1. So plus 1 means I'm going to shift the graph 1 unit up. So my amplitude there is still 2. Alright, my minimum value and maximum value will now be altered. So my minimum value based on 2 would still be negative 2 and a maximum positive 2. But a plus 1 shifts the graph 1 unit up, so minus 2 plus 1 and 2 plus 1. I hope you understand. So my new minimum value would be minus 1 and my new maximum value would be positive 3. Alright? And then my range now would be y less or equal to 3 and greater or equal to minus 1. Right? My period would still be 360 divided by 2. Right? Because I have 2x there. Let's forget about the 1. So my period, 360 degrees divided by 2, which gives me 180 degrees. Right? Now to plot this, we need basically 5 points generally to plot sine and cos graphs. Alright, so for us to plot, we're going to say 180 divided by 4 to get our interval spacing. Interval spacing 180 divided by 4, meaning every 45 degrees I'm going to plot a point. Right, so now let's go look at drawing this. Right, so there y equal 2 sine 2x, my amplitude equal 2. Minimum minus 2, maximum 2. These are all things we found previously. The range given, period. Interval spacing, 45. Right, so in every exam, we will give you the domain if you have to plot. So here we say domain, x element starting from negative 180, including negative 180, up to 180, and including that 180. Right, so if I'm plotting there, just to show you 0, plus 45, plus 45, plus 45, plus 45. My apologies. Then 0 minus 45, minus 45, minus 45, minus 45. Right, and if I put this in a calculator, so sine 2 times 0 is sine 0, times 2 would give me 0. Sine 2 times 45 would give me 90, sine of 90 is 1, 1 times 2 would give me 2. 2 times 90 gives me sine 180, which is 0. 0 times 2 stays 0. Sine 2 times 135 gives me the sine of 270. Sine of 270 minus 1 times 2, which gives me negative 2. And then I have sine 2 times 180, which gives me sine of 360, which is 0. 0 2 times 2 is 0. Same applies if we do with the negative angles. But yeah, you can do this using your calculation and the calculator step function on the Casio. Right, so if I plot now there, you see there's 0 and 0, 45 and 2, 90 and 0, 135 and negative 2, and 180 and 0. Come the other side, I have minus 45 and negative 2, negative 90 and 0, minus 135 and 2, and minus 180 and 0. Alright, and from here, you should see there's the shape of the graph. There's one complete sine graph. And from there, a second complete sine graph. Right, so that is why my period is 180. From 0 to 180, I draw a complete sine graph. Ne? Right, so I hope you can see there. So there's my period, and here's my range. The highest being 2, lowest value being negative 2. Right. Now let's look at the second problem. Y equal 2 sine 2x plus 1. So we got amplitude 2. Right, my minimum value was minus 1, maximum value was 3. Y less or equal to 3, greater or equal to minus 1, period 360 divided by 2, which is 180, and my interval spacing 45 from what we've done previously, right? So if we plot in the same domain, if we put in 0, 0, sine of 0 would give me 0, times 2 is 0, 0 plus 1 gives me 1. 2 times 45 gives me the sine of 90, which is 1. 1 times 2 is 2 plus 1 gives me 3. 2 times 90 gives me the sine of 180, which is 0. Times 2 stays 0 plus 1 then becomes 1. Right? And so we continue with all those values, right? If I plot now there, right, my first point is at 0 and 1. So instead of being at 0 and 0 here, it's moved 1 unit up to 1. Do you see there? 45. There, instead of reading 45 and 2, now it becomes 45 and 3. There, 90 and 1. Then we have 135 and negative 1. 180 and 1. Come this side. Negative 45 and minus 1. Negative 90 and 1. There, negative 135 and 3, and negative 180 and 1. So you can see the whole graph moved 1 unit up there to the purple line. Right, and now you can see my range goes from 3 to minus 1. So therefore that's my maximum value, which is now 3, and my minimum value, which is minus 1. Right, so that is for that graph. Right, let's look at the next problem. Y equal to 3 sine 4x minus 2. So from this, my amplitude should be 3. Right? That was written in front there. My minimum value, minimum smallest it will go to, my amplitude is 3, is minus 3. But I'm shifting it 2 units down, so minus 3, minus 2. Maximum value would be 3, but I'm shifting it 2 units down, so 3 minus 2. So that gives me minimum value of negative 5, minus 3 minus 2 is negative 5. Now maximum value of 3 minus 2, which is 1. So my range goes from 1 to negative 5. There, as you can see. Period, that's 4x, so 360 divided by 4, which gives me 90. Therefore, my interval spacing would be 90 divided by 4, which gives me 22,5. So when you plot this function, they gave us the domain x element of negative 90 degrees to 90. Right, so I start by 0. Sine of 0 is 0 times 3 gives me 0 minus 2. 22,5 times 4 gives me the sine of 90. Sine of 90 is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 minus 2 would give me 1. There, if I put 45, 160, sine of 180. Right, so sine of 180, 0 times 3 is 0, minus 2 stays minus 2. Right, and so we can continue. If we substitute in and we calculate, 67,5 would give me negative 5, and 90 degrees would give me negative 2. Alright, same applies. If we go negative 22,5 gives me negative 5. If I take negative 45 in there again, I get negative 2. If I take negative 67,5 there, I get 1. And if I take 90, I get negative 2. Right, so that's 4 times negative 90, which gives me negative 360, which is 0 times 3 is 0. 0 minus 2 gives me negative 2. Right, so I assume on a calculator you will figure out how to calculate that. You can stop and calculate in the calculator to verify you get those values. Right, so if we look here at this graph now, that minus 2 means where the line 0 and 0 is, the graph had to move 2 units down. Right, so if we look there, my new coordinate is not 0 and 0, but 0 and negative 2. Right, and then from there we have 22,5 and 1. Right, and then we have 45 and negative 2, 67,5 and negative 5, and 90 degrees and negative 2. Come to this side here, we have negative 22,5 minus 5. Then we have negative 45 and negative 2. We have negative 67,5 and 1, and minus 90 and negative 2. So as you can see, my range goes from positive 1 to negative 5, and my maximum value is 1, and my minimum value is negative 5. Right, so I hope you follow. Let's look at the next problem. Y equal minus 2 sine 3x plus 1. So the amplitude equal 2. There, although it's minus 2, amplitude must be positive. Minimum value minus 2 plus 1. Maximum value 2 plus 1. Right, so maximum is 3, 2 plus 1 is 3. Minimum minus 2 plus 1 minus 1. So my range, while less or equal to 3, greater or equal to minus 1. Period, they have 3x, so 360 divided by 3, which gives me 120. My interval spacing would then be 120 divided by 4, which gives me 30 degrees. Right, we plot the function between minus 90 and 90. Again on a calculator, sine of 0 is 0, so therefore plus 1. Sine of 30 gives me 3 times 30, which is sine of 90. Sine of 90 is 1. 1 times negative 2 is negative 1. Plus 1 would then give me negative 1. If I put 60, sine 3 times 60 gives me 180. 180 times sine of 180 is 0. So that whole part becomes 0, and I'm left with plus 1. Alright, so I hope you follow. So from there, if we plot, the graph moves 1 unit up. So therefore, first coordinate, 0 and 1. 30 and minus 1. 60 and 1. 90 and 3. Come this side, minus 30 and 3. Minus 60 and 1, and minus 90 and minus 1. Right, and there's the shape of my graph done. Right, so I hope you follow. I hope you enjoy the lesson. I hope it's helpful. Please like and subscribe. God bless. Bye.